YouTube's going. Okay, I'm gonna start the tape if you're ready.
Go for it. Welcome to the October Public Works and Streets Commission meeting, 2 o'clock, October 14th. We have Mr. Bennett, Mr. Cox, Mr. Erdahl, Mr. Groth, Mr. Phipps, Mr. Welch, and myself. We do not have Mr. Cox, I'm sorry. He is not here, and we have Public Works leads here as well. Is there any announcements or correspondence from anybody?
I don't know if this is an announcement, but I've thought about it. I thought it might be nice if our commission had a Christmas gathering.
I see.
And I don't know if this is the right place to do it or not, but it would be kind of fun if we had an evening or where we could all meet for dinner at a restaurant, and just.
Sounds like you're hosting.
And paid by the city.
Oh, no.
No, everybody just go Dutch, but I mean, I just an idea. Okay.
Okay,
So.
all right.
Well,
Idea has been thrown out, so. Any citizens' concerns? Seeing none. Reports. Read summary of last month's meeting. Fire department report, none. Emergency preparedness committee. We did a simulation of an event last week. It went very well. A lot of people learned a lot of things.
Yes, that.
Yes, you should be sorry. Really, it was very good. Everybody was really getting into learning and identifying kinds of things that we need to do.
I ended up
It was
with one.
perfect. Ooh. I'm sure you're very sorry.
oh, you could have been on one of the,
Here.
you could have been on one of
I-
the cops.
Could have,
You'd
yes.
have been the emergency.
We needed
And
somebody
then we-
at first aid to take care of.
I'm sorry that
I
we
did,
videotaped it for like information purposes.
yeah.
That would
Yeah.
be nice to,
I think we're going to do it again.
oh, good, okay.
Based on things that we have learned. And we will certainly, what we were short were shelter seekers. Unfortunately, so we were utilizing some of the key people to be a shelter seeker, and so everybody could go through the process of each of the positions. And I think it worked really pretty well.
Yeah.
I have drafted already one shelter seeker who will be Terrible Tom. It's the fire chief from Seal Rock. And he knows about emergency preparedness and has little different points of view, but he will be very good at becoming Terrible Tom. Now I think all in all, it went well and everybody learned a lot, and we're going to have to do a lot of regrouping at this point from the committee. The CERT group was there pretty much in force too, out of Walport, and they have pulled the CERT backpacks out of the connexes now. They're setting up their own storage area for some supplies between here and Walport. So they're going to handle some of their own kinds of things that way, which is fine. It left us a little more room. So that's good. Public Works report. Dave, you want to go first, or you want Mr. Rick?
I'd like Rick too, because
Okay.
you know, I don't have to leave.
Okay,
That's possible.
it's possible. Mr. Rick?
Yeah, I gotta take off at 2:30, so I'll loudly go first.
Okay,
Let's see, East Second Street is moving along. We got down all the way down Second Street, down Cedar. And now we're connecting to a pipe that was installed in, I think, 1999. And the maps for it have been off by a long shot. So we're trying to avoid change orders. We've had one so far. Happened a couple of weeks ago. The maps are off and it was originally wanted 8,000, but we got them down to 6,000 on it. We had a couple more attempts for change orders, but we've worked through them so far with no other change orders. But now we're getting down to where there might be one more change order or might not. We won't know until the back truck's done exploring for connections. So it's the project's going good. It's just all these unknowns that we've ran into on Yahats River Road. Let's see, the reservoir site at the water treatment plant. I'll be giving a small presentation to council tomorrow. I've ran it through my engineer and he thinks it's a lot better site than any of the sites we've looked at so far. And did you want to see any illustrations or anything?
Sure, why don't you go ahead? I'll say I printed them out large, so if
Okay.
I had trouble reading them on the screen.
Give you
Yeah.
access, Rick, in just 1 second.
They
Okay.
are, and I had a question in terms of his access to the site and why he went the circuitous route around when you can go direct up like you had.
Go ahead.
Just looking at them real quick.
Good.
This is where he's talking about putting it as a water station. Or water.
The water station is here. This is our plateau up above the property we purchased. And our tank is right here, which they had the other map
On this other one.
identified.
Do you see this?
There we go.
Yep.
Okay. So this is the access road that Lynn was just talking about. It comes up this way and it comes up this way because of the terrain that's in the on the hillside. Let me drop this down and go over here to this. This is really hard to read, but
Yeah.
but there's one thing I want to point out that's a good thing is our steepest slope that we'll have to overcome is only 18.6%.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, because on the other side we were around 22 in some areas, which is really steep. So this is good. You see that there'll be some areas that we'll have to put fill dirt in as we're making the road to make it smooth. And
I noticed they were showing that we were gonna cut down to 220 when we're up at 240. Is
well,
there a reason we have to cut that much out?
yeah, the reservoir needs to be at 220.
Okay,
And on the last geotech study, we found that there was about 25 feet of dirt before we hit a hard surface. So it may be the same on this side. That we
Okay.
have to dig down that far. And yeah. So next slide. Kind of shows. I'll show you my slides too, but I wanted to show you the engineer slides. So he's saying, here's the 220-foot line,
yeah,
and we cut back, and then we'll have a slope instead of a retaining wall. He thinks that there'll be enough ground to slope. And that, that was gonna be over $1 million on the other, or near it, at the other side.
It's a much better approach.
Yeah. And let's see. No, this. Okay, here it is. These are the slides I made for the council. I didn't know that, I asked for the engineer to take a look at it a couple weeks ago, and he just got back to me. He was waiting to talk to the, or he sent it out. So I basically have the same access road, except it comes up to meet the tank at a different site, different part. Access road would be a little longer than 900 feet. And the water line to the reservoir is only 1,100 feet. And at the Lane Morrill site, we were looking at half a mile of pipe from Radar Road to the Lane property. I don't know how far it was exactly, but it's a long ways.
Yeah.
Much shorter pipe here by far. And then I showed the tank in the sweet spot, which will be dug down to about 220. And here's with a retaining wall and without a retaining wall. And one of the things of doing due diligence is, has there been any previous landslides? And in the tank area, there was no landslides, but right above the water plant is a potential landslide. So it's on the DOTB map, and it's rated as a high likelihood someday to give way. Another page said it was about 12 to 18 feet of slide material. And the reason I bring this up is, number one, we need to know about it. But number two, it gives another incentive to move the plant out of the tsunami zone.
Yes.
So, and disasters like this, it's a little easier to find money to do stuff like that. Or they understand the urgencies more. And so I wanted to make sure we all know about this. And as you can see, it's right at the bottom of the log clearing that happened above the water plant. It didn't give way right after the logging and all the heavy rains we had, so that's good. But it is extremely steep right here in that spot. Okay.
Hey, Rick,
Yeah.
can you just, first of all, I think that's a smart move to move the facility if it is subject to landslides and it's in the tsunami zone. But I'm curious if you could just give us an overview of how the system's going to work. What is the water plant pumping up to the reservoir and then it comes down? How, will you just give us a kind of an overview of how the system
Sure.
works?
Sure. It's the same no matter where the reservoir's at. We provide a hydraulic zone. We pump it up here, we store it. We're looking hopefully a 1.5 million gallon tank. This tank is would be the exact same height as the rectangle tank on Radar Road. So we fill it up. The plant we can turn the plant off, but then we have water at 220 feet, which has given us roughly 80 pounds of pressure throughout town. And we have a transmission line out here from the water plant going down Yahas River Road. That's a new line that we put in. Well, it's not new anymore. It's 20 years old. But it's sized good enough to be for the tank and to provide town with water. So if we had to, we could move the plant right over here onto the property that we just bought.
Great.
And we can, all of our infrastructure piping and stuff was real close. So it'd be an easy move as far as moving water plant. So
Right.
did that help you, Don?
Yeah, it does. And it sure sounds like you did some good planning to get everything the way it's laid out.
Well, you know, we did it once already, so it's kind of, I knew what we had to do. So there's that. And the engineer wrote a letter. Basically, it comes down to it's better than the stair side, not as steep of a road, no tall walls. But it comes down to Geotech would like to do a walkthrough, a field visit over here. And because it's rough territory, could be a hard walk in, who knows? But the engineer suggests a $15,000 to $20,000 fee for the field site. And along that, they'll be looking for drainage issues, possibilities of other areas, any keys that look like it might be a bad site. So they're gonna look at that first, and then if they say it's a good site, let's try to bore it. And then they're looking at $55,000 for that. So we're looking at $75,000. And by the time we get a road put in there, we're looking at $100,000 to do this. And I hope to apply for another, maybe an infrastructure grant or something. We probably have money to do it, but it doesn't mean we can't look for grants. Overall, besides this $20,000 fee, which we didn't have to do with our first site, it's probably a cheaper avenue as far as the excavator guy goes, because when we put the road in, we actually spent more money on the cleanup of the road than plowing it in. Part of our agreement was to scrape it clean of all the duff and branches and logs we cut. And it was like 20 something other dump truck loads and 40 hours of excavator time. So we had to do that to be our good neighbor and uphold our contract. But this time we won't have to do any cleanup unless we want to make it permanent. So that's that. I don't have much more to say on it. Any questions?
Yeah, Rick, I have a question. On the piping from the new tank, you have the water going up. Do you have a separate pipe coming back down?
No, fill and empty in the same pipe.
Oh, okay. So it'll go both directions.
Yeah,
Okay.
there'll be a bottom fed reservoir.
And you wouldn't want to go over the hill down to the other smaller tank.
Well, that's a raw tank.
That's not a possibility.
Oh,
Not to the other smaller tank.
I'll show you some. See, that's what I did right here. There's already some access road
Right.
for the small tank. And I'll just run this pipe down beside it. This is raw water here. This will be finished tomorrow.
How about there's a 250 tank on the other side of it, to the east, I mean, to the west, right?
Of the 1,000,000 tank that we have now.
Yeah, near the $1 million tank, yeah.
Yeah, that's a 200,000. Little round in the ground. Yeah. We still haven't decided what we're gonna do with that yet. We may make it all into pressure reducing valves more around town. Haven't tackled that issue yet. But it will come together.
We'd still use the 250 though, right?
Oh, yeah. It,
And we don't
it
wanna
serves, it
we wouldn't
serves
wanna-
a majority
yeah.
of the town.
So you don't want to do a line across to the west directly from the new water tank? Or something to look at.
I don't understand your question.
I'm saying if you ran a line from the new the water tank, the new 1.5 million, to the west to that 250, would that be of any benefit?
I already got lines doing that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is just, we're feeding into the main artery here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and, we won't have to move any pump stations, any of our little reservoirs. This will just be like it never happened.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the nice thing about this site also.
And there, on that line there's no problem with tsunami there, right? On the existing
Well,
line?
Yeah. But yeah. The good thing about it is that it's all one pipe. It runs right along the edge of the Yahas River Road.
Right.
And it's HDPE, which is welded pipe. It's plastic, but it's welded together.
Right.
So there's no joints.
Right.
So I've actually seen this type of pipe in a landslide, and the pipe's still there. The
Okay.
landslide's gone, but the pipe's still there. So it's the strongest type of pipe you can put in the ground, besides iron, which wouldn't handle the tsunami, but this HDPE would probably.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Rick, I understood you said the capacity is the same as radar.
The PSI.
Okay. So is it going to be as large as what we had planned for behind Diversity Lane?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Million
In
and a half.
fact,
Okay.
we were gonna have a hard time building a 1.5 million tank up there because of the terrain. The engineer suggested several small things, which you can do, but the end product is a lot more per gallon of storage. A lot more money per gallon. So building a big tank, it's less money per gallon to store it. Any other questions? Okay. I'll stop sharing my screen and gather up, and I gotta take off to a doctor. So. Okay.
Thank you, Rick. Thanks. Rick.
Yeah. No
Thank
problem.
you.
You want to make yours really short, Dave?
That's a tough story to follow. But I'm gonna try and make mine look just as beautiful as that.
There you
No. Well, we'll start with, I was kind of wondering if anybody read the water report. Nice. The only one that found it in the bottom of the public works room.
Oh, okay, that's.
Little trick, that's all. Well, not really a trick. I just was in a hurry and got to separate it. But I do want to share that, in the water report, we've got 2 months in a row at 92% water loss
Yeah.
efficiency.
That's
So
good.
I think we're on the right track. That's a big deal.
What had we been running?
It was all over
80s?
the place. We were in the
Yeah.
80s. couple 70s in there and even a 68 somewhere along the
Yeah.
line, but then we got 2 months in the road, and plus the last month or so, we fixed a lot of repairs and in September. So pretty exciting work. In that Public Works report, though, again, if you look under each one of those titles, you'll see where we spend most of our time. This September, it was spent mostly in Public Works, which is the potpourri of everything. And we did a lot of things, just a couple highlights, the Tsunami Street sign, I probably was bragging about that last month. I'll try and keep September on the docket here. Lots of stuff. I will say that the crew is gaining more and more experience. I don't think our back truck has run as much in 1 month as it did last month. I won't say that we're just been almost every day in October, every working day. We've been going, but that's been going on. We also camera CCTV the most footage in a month in September, 1,800 feet. We keep that up, we'll get our 20% for the year and so on. So that's good stuff. But I must say that this was all mostly involved with the Third Street project as well. So all kinds of things in Public Works. I could go through every little line item, but you want this to be short, but all of it is sweet and the crew is doing great. And I'll move into capital projects real quick. The main lift station, the variable frequency drives were installed. That was the last big ticket item for the main pump station. There's still some other stuff, but a lot of small little things, but we'll get those done. The quiet water lift station improvements and Riverside Force Main, that is still under review. We had a kind of idea on a quiet water package deal for the pump station where they just come in and set the pump station on top. But when the engineers reviewed it, there was a lot of issues. So we're kind of going back and forth on that or with the manufacturer, just kind of looking at the type of pump station we want, quiet water. That one does not need to be a very big, expensive project. So there's different things out there that we're looking at. The Pontiac Force Main and replacement, and Third Street improvements. That's the scope of work will be sent out for approval probably tomorrow. What they're gonna do. Folks, the engineers. And then the wastewater treatment plant upgrades, we're continuing with component replacement. Other than that, we've just been finding all kinds of things on that East Second Street project. But those guys are just rocking and rolling, those contractors. Today, the water, hopefully it's back on, but they were gonna shut it off for a little bit to connect the new service line, the 6-inch that Rick was talking about. They were connecting to that with the new 8-inch water line. And they're gonna have both sections, the old line and the new line in service, but well, charged anyways. And then they'll start hooking up services. And our goal is to get all those services found and located so that when they come through, they don't spend a lot of time searching for it. So we found some really good stuff. That's it.
I assume the maps are being updated as things are going along.
Yes, they are. It's kind of interesting because the old maps from, I think it was 2021 is when the map was made. We're sitting here scratching out abandoned, but they're gonna give us a new map with everything, but the old ones need to be marked as what's abandoned and what's not. So one for instance, there was a section in there that said that there was a 4-inch ACT connecting the 6-inch ACT, the two pipes there. One was the very old one, the original one that came down from the water plant or from Reedy Creek. And then the other one was an upgrade and they were connected. The map said they were. So we spent a day and a half looking for those T's to make sure they weren't. And the guys came across a broken end of the 6-inch. And I ran the camera down it and so far we couldn't find it, so.
So how's our manhole coming on hand? Is there the update on that?
It is one of many things on the list.
I was just curious, is there,
Right now, we're working on the time sensitive stuff.
okay,
When project gets done, we'll be tackling some storm drain stuff and then we'll be up there to suck a hole around that spot.
and then there's a cone in my neighbor's yard that between ours that where you guys fix the leak. And I'm just curious on, why is there still a cone there?
Trust me, we'll be getting that today because we need every cone we need.
Okay, so it's done.
Yeah, usually the guys will leave a cone there for a couple of weeks or a month to make sure that go stomping on it if it's softer.
Okay, good.
Just give it time to set.
All
Don't steal it.
right.
Yeah, we have our name on it. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one point, not a question. On the water report, if anybody needs to look at it, the last page shows the water usage and it shows the percentages that lost. So that if you need to look at that more, it is attached in the water report at the last page.
And I would add that on that water loss, it shows a section, I added some verbiage on there that says water flushing or I think water loss due to leaks. And that's how much we had in leaks that we had.
30,000.
Those were actual water breaks and stuff, so. I think it was 30 or 40,000.
30. Great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Dave.
And for point, Alex has joined us, or did join us shortly after we started, so he is in attendance as well. Okay, finance report. Don,
Want me to pull that up, Don, or no?
Did you want to say anything about the speed data or that was just a link? On D1? Are we going to cover that later?
Speed
yes,
data.
we'll cover it later.
Okay.
Unless
Yeah, I haven't
Dave-
really got to look at the report just got posted not too long ago for September.
That's the report that Becca provides.
On not the financial report though, right?
No, as part of Dave's report. So
Okay.
that's a little different from what I think his report is.
Okay. Yeah, you can go ahead and pull it up. Like I said, it's just now out.
Boring.
She saw the numbers.
Okay. There we go.
Hey, Don.
Okay. Okay, on the streets operating, the payments from the state are a little bit behind. I know we only have 15%. See if they catch up a little bit. Didn't see anything real unusual on that, on this page. Go ahead and the next one. Okay, yeah. We're just kind of starting on the capital expenditures. We've mainly the road and driveway have been working on what the kind of the repair or different pieces. And not Second Street yet until we finish the construction. So this one's in line. So let's go ahead and go to the next one. Other than operating stuff, there's not much on this one. We get a quarterly transfer that we budgeted to kind of keep us in the black. Nothing unusual here. And we haven't really started any of the capital work, which was mainly the drain under Marine Drive, the one hook up there. Okay, let's go ahead. On the this page, the operating revenue for the quarter, we're in the 25% thing. The question that we might, hopefully we stay in sync if we start having a downturn like we have experienced in the past. We don't have any, the 25% we were hoping we would get more accelerated revenue now to offset any lower revenue in the next 2 quarters. But if we stay at this level, then we would still be okay compared to budget. We got the transfers out. So that we're catching up because that's for the whole quarter. And so we get kind of a negative hit here that we didn't get in the first 2 months. Okay. On the capital, we've just kind of started on paying for the engineering on Second Street and a couple of other things. So, and in the package, there is a CIP report that has the detail that you all need to look at and see if there's any questions. We're kind of in line with what we budgeted. Okay. And pretty well the same on wastewater operations. We're a little bit above. We're at 27.9, almost 28. And everything else is kind of falling into place like you would expect against the budget. Remember on all of the ones that pay for the insurance, that's the annual number. So we always end up prepaying that in July and August. If you go up a little bit higher, Kimmy, you can see the insurance line. Ooh. See, we paid all of that, so we're a little bit over, but we under budgeted there, but okay. And then wastewater capital, we're just now starting to expend on that. And again, the CIP report that's in the reports in the packages this time shows most of the 48 was the main lift, or the 48,000 of that is the main lift station improvement, which you can see right there, kind of all hit in in September. Not, we didn't really have much billing in the first 2 months, or any billing in the first 2 months. Okay. And then the SDC is the transfer to the capital reserve, forgotten which one. It's either water or sewer. So is there any questions? Like, I just now kind of looked at it. I didn't notice it was out there before.
Pretty much at the end of our first quarter, we are running as expected.
Yeah, the only thing is if we have a downturn in the water usage, it'd be nice to have a higher percentage in the first quarter than 25%.
That's our big 3 months, right?
Yeah,
And we're only at 25%, so. Yeah.
We'll see.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we just hope we keep visitors coming for the next few months.
I'll turn on my faucets full time.
There you go.
There you go. We appreciate your financing there, Don.
You gotta support the city.
Was he the conservative guy before? No, okay. So that's all I
Okay.
have. And if anybody wants to,
Don, you might re-answer the question that Don Phipps asked you earlier this month about why we were raising water rates. I think it'd be good for everybody to rehear.
now I'd have to go get my email. Did that answer your question kind of, Don?
I don't even remember asking the question, but okay. I think what I was trying to make sure is that whatever rates that we raised, that we were tracking, and that it was improving our capital reserve situation.
I know Don's answer. I have your answer, Don.
Okay.
You said the rate changes allows the operating fund to make the annual contributions to the reserve fund at the 250,000 per year and to increase as excess receipts over the expenses increases. The reserve fund is used to fund master plan upgrades to water supply over its plan life. It's an ongoing process to determine future needs and how to fund them, which may include grants and other forms of funding.
Yes, I now remember this. This was just a couple of days ago.
It was.
And the other,
And I really wasn't even asking the question. I really was just trying to figure out the reason we raised the water rates was to deal with this issue.
That's right.
And
we
Rick
know,
said yes, and that's all I needed to know. So,
yeah,
but I appreciate the extended answer as well.
and then the other thing is that we do draw from the Urban Renewal District and SDCs when projects allow us to do that. And the other thing, the 250 a year and hopefully goes up. I think if we spread that or extend that out, that's not enough to cover the master plan needs, so.
true. That's true. We're getting into the more expensive items. We've been taking care of a lot of the master plan items, though. We have been working at both wastewater and water plant items out of the master plan, and really doing pretty well in trying to accomplish those. But we have some expensive ones to come. Anything else, Don, before we move on to the CIPs?
Bob, did you have any questions? Or are you okay? Okay, no, I'm done.
Neil?
I got a spreadsheet in there. Can I go down some of the details with you?
So,
So for water, we didn't have a whole lot in there for the East Second Street Phase 3 yet. We just got a bill in from Lasky Clifton, the contractor, so that 3,000 is gonna go up to 185,000 pretty quick. So by the next time you have the meeting, we'll have a
okay,
meeting report for you. It's got more spending in there. And we'd spent just over 10,000 on the connection with Southwest Lincoln Water. The Reedy Creek water pipeline improvements, we're kind of going slow on that one, but we got 7,800 spent in that one.
Neil, on the Central Lincoln hookup, that, was that the contracted price for the water that we were gonna receive for the month, or was it just to turn it on, or what?
I think it's both. I think it's for the water and for them to turn that valve on.
Okay,
For feasibility study for the water tank, we spent just over 40,000 on that. We've been getting reimbursements on the grant. I don't have that on the spreadsheet here, but we have a grant. We're getting, I think, we've got 40,000. Yeah.
that's right.
Annual hydrant replacements, so spent 25,000. The Public Works slide gate, we had it on last year's CIP budget, and they had started work on it last fiscal year, but they didn't finish the work until this fiscal year, and we just recently got the bill for it, but they are all done with that slide gate.
It's finished.
Yeah.
Good.
how many hydrants were fixed, you know?
Yes, we put in 3. Those were contracted though, and we've got 7 more to go.
So about $8,000 a piece or so, approximately.
Could be. I think we spent more than that. Well, whatever that is. That was contractors right there.
Oh, that's just
That was
contractors.
contractors.
Okay.
But the hydrants themselves, for us to do it, it'll probably be closer to maybe 6 to 7 piece.
That's everything for water. So for the water, we're at just over 106,000 spent so far on the capital outlay. Wastewater, like Don mentioned, the 48,000 for the main lift station improvements, the variable frequency drives. And then we have the other half of the slide gate, because they split the cost between water and wastewater. So you see that 18,000 on wastewater as well. The East Second Street Phase 3 for wastewater, we're gonna see about 24,000 off of that bill that we just got. I don't have it on here because it's not in our accounting system yet, but check should be going out this week. And then we just had a small amount in there for the wastewater treatment plant upgrades, 1,300 and change. So a total of 68,000 and change on wastewater. On the general fund items like streets, it's like we're at a little over 80,000 on street repairs. We budgeted 110,000. And on the East Second Street Phase 3 for roads, we're gonna have about 6,500 showing up from that most recent bill that we got from the contractor. And we have a little over 3,000 for the crosswalk flashers. We capitalized that, it's just the amount of money that was gonna be, so we didn't have that in our capital budget exactly, but should be able to absorb that by one of the departments.
And that should fix that problem for good, right?
Good. Yeah.
You need weather conditions here with the community and the, so. Cross your fingers.
Put an umbrella over it, maybe.
That's everything for. Here.
Question on streets, do we still, it might be for Dave, do we still have a few to go to repair?
For paving for this year, yes. The Yahats Park Road repair from the water lake there. And one more, which escapes my mind.
So we're close.
Yeah, yes. We thought maybe, I kind of thought maybe they'd try for it this week. But I think they're gonna slate us for next spring.
Okay.
The paving at 9th and 7th and the work he did in that area, first
They did
class.
a really good job.
Really good.
Yes, they did. I'm just personally used to the rattling.
Dave, I have a question on, have we got any kind of indication if we are going to do the Marine 101 drive storm drain underneath 101 this year?
Sure, yes. I'm sure we're gonna try, but we've gotta get that all figured out. There's a lot of moving parts right now.
Yeah. If we needed to move budget money around, we could, depending on the timing, we could do a little from storm drains to streets. That's one of the reasons I'd still like to merge the two together and the accounting, to look at that some more.
Anything else on CIPs? Thank you, Neil, for the update. Appreciate that. Let's see, Rick did his report on the water tank. Commissioners' projects. City Council is going to be asking us for recommendations for their goals. And pretty much most of your projects relate to goals. So if you could come up with a sentence or two to get to me by next month, I'll pass them on to the mayor for their consideration as goals.
With a yearly plan.
Right,
their goals.
right. We've done pretty well in terms of keeping our projects to what their goals are. Or they have followed our projects for their goals. I don't know which. Streets, have you taken a look at?
I started
Okay,
with the
good.
easiest one first, which is south of the bridge down in Jim's neighborhood where the streets are all just
Yeah, right.
really,
Yeah.
but that's it.
You're beginning your inventory.
I'm sorry.
Process.
I've started.
Are you taking your GoPro, walk through and identifying?
I don't know what a GoPro is. What's that?
Video camera you want.
Oh, okay.
Because you're gonna walk all the streets.
Yeah, yeah. I am not gonna take pictures. I'll take some pictures, but not movie camera pictures.
Ideas to help Dave.
I suggest you take a walk up Horizon.
I did yesterday.
Oh, so you saw how I marked everything out?
Oh, I did not see that you marked. I will look what?
Well, the big white squares
Okay,
and stuff, big markings, and I have.
is that gonna be done then?
30 identified spots
Oh, really?
going all the way up and over the top.
Okay.
And the priority that
Uh-huh.
I just have to go and get the footage of.
Okay. That's not part of what's remaining in that 30,000 budget.
No,
That's
that'll
future.
show you the kind of stuff that Public Works is looking at.
Okay,
and
okay,
how we rate it.
good. Thanks.
Streetlights, Jim.
But nothing to report. I've been actually helping Dawn on that next topic. Radar.
We'll skip Septic tanks I'm going to be sending to Dave and Rick and the city manager an outline of what I would like to suggest we send out to residents that have septic tanks. Identifying some things that they should be more aware of and are they doing in terms of their maintenance requirements at this point. I'm not sure we can do a whole lot other than remind them of what their obligations are to have a septic tank. And I will be looking at what projects with Dave down the road might help get some of our system to some areas where we have septics, but it's just going to be take a project to do it rather than creating a project per se. I think that's kind of a use of funds that maybe isn't necessary, but if there's another project we can link into to extend, like we've seen recently, would make more sense. Mr. Phipps.
Yes, I think I'd like to go a little out of sequence and talk about first of all, the ODOT appeal. And that appeal went well. At least we did receive some reduction in speed. In the 240 mile per hour sections, they lowered the speed to 35 miles per hour, or we're told to lower the speed to 35 miles per hour by the speed zone review panel. The interesting thing about that, the whole situation was ODOT required that we submit the presentation 2 weeks in advance. And yet the three, there were supposed to be 5 on the panel that showed, only 3 people showed. And none of those people had access to the presentation before the presentation was made. So furthermore, they didn't record, like we record these meetings. There was no recording of it. So the only thing that we had that showed what actually transpired was a summary crafted by ODOT, not by the panel. So it was funny because when we started comparing notes, Jim and I and others, about what was said at the end of the panel, there were like, for every person, there was a different perspective. So it was hard to figure out what actually they ended up recommending. The other thing I wanted to say about the ODOT review, the review zone, the speed zone review panel meeting that we had, was that ODOT tried to make the case that we had no traffic on 101 highway. It was really surprising. Their photographs were misleading on their speed zone report, showing empty highways. And then when they did their drive-through, the entire drive-through was devoid. 101 highway, it was the first time I'd ever seen 101 highway with virtually no cars on it at all.
It was done early in the morning, right?
Yeah, it was done early in the morning.
In April.
Yeah, so this was part of my reasoning for challenging ODOT, because I viewed what they did with as a convenience sample, which is one that is not really scientifically drawn, so it can mislead panel members as to what actually is going on the highway. And I think we were successful to some extent on that. The other thing that was interesting was the report in the newspaper suggested that ODOT studied this for 3 years. I pointed out to Quentin Smith that was not the case. It was the entire study took 8.5 hours, 4 hours for the North 40 and 4.5 hours for the South 40. That's all they studied. They didn't study our stretch of road for 3 years. So it was just surprising to see that kind of statement made in the paper, but that's how it goes. Anyway, so and I understand that Bobby was able to negotiate with them and get the 35 mile per hour zones extended all the way to the city limits on both sides. So that's a good thing. So
35?
the 35.
35, yeah.
Yeah, 35, all the way to the city limits on both sides. So we received a 5 mile per hour reduction on 101 highway. We moved the juggernaut.
I'd like to add that this was really, the approach was a citizen initiative. And obviously led strongly by Don here. And we happened to sit in on the previous meeting where the biggest, baddest town went to ODOT, and this is Portland, wanting to reduce a section of highway that's maybe 3/4 of a mile from 40 to 35. And they brought their engineers in to argue with ODOT's engineers, and they were turned down. And we come in asking to reduce it for 25. And it was really the appeal of Don, myself, and others who spoke that made them realize this was about the citizens asking for it as opposed to the transportation department. And it was really came to the point where there were two non-ODOT people on the panel, and they were obviously very sympathetic and wanted to do something, and that's how we got to where we got. So it's really hats off to Don here. Period. You really did, to bring us home on that. And the other thing we learned was that the previous time we came in, the only reason we have 25 mile in the downtown is because there was an appeal by the city back maybe. Do you remember what it?
I don't know. I'm going to guess probably 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Bobby, you might know when it used to be 40 all the way through town.
No. And so it took the city to come in and so there's no reason not to make cases.
Yeah.
Is the way that and this came out of partly, of course, how crazy the traffic is, but because of the accident that we had in front of the fire station there.
Yeah, let me just again emphasize that the city, a previous version of city government appealed a ruling by ODOT to maintain 40 miles an hour in our city center, and they were overturned, and the speed was reduced by the speed zone review panel to 25 miles per hour. That's why we have a 25 mile per hour section in the middle of our city. Now, some of you may be old enough to remember when that happened. I don't know, or have lived here long enough.
Kids from Whiteback that almost got hit by cars several times.
Okay, do you remember when it happened? Was it?
It had to have been after I started, so it must have been 2011, 12-ish, somewhere around there. It's a long time. But yeah, there were several.
That's what I guessed, 2011, 12.
Teachers.
Because one of the panel members commented that he remembered that appeal.
I do remember.
Okay.
Miss Mary was part of the year before. She was one of the ones that was almost hit with the kids, and then her daughter-in-law was hit.
Okay, so that's the speed zone review panel. If there's any further questions on it?
Bobby, did you have a comment on?
Just also that we were able to extend the 25 mile an hour zone up to 250 feet beyond 9th Street. It's right now the sign's at 9th Street, moved it so it encompasses the edge of like the Dollar General and Village Bean.
Good.
Yeah, right at where the Village Bean asphalt parking area ends. That's where the 25 mile per hour ends.
And in addition, it was your request that we reduce the speeds that got us to push out the 40 mile in the north section of town as well.
North of town, yeah.
So that would be part of the overall effort here.
Did ODOT say anything about extending that 40 mile an hour zone past where it is? Because I know the 35 you told me goes to Ocean Way. Is that Am I right on that?
It's 250 feet beyond Ocean Way where the sign is now, so
Right,
it's. If that's the 40, it'll be 35 the whole way.
okay, but I mean, will there be an intermediate between 55 and 35, or we'll just go from 55 to 35? Okay,
Yeah, so that's even
that's
bigger.
good, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, very good. I did want to next talk about what's going on in the village center, my typical show. I think we have a PDF on that, Kimmy.
Yes.
It's a chart, three pages or so.
Which one do you want?
It's called chart vehicle speeding
Go.
in village center. There we go. Yeah. So what I've done now is I've graphically portrayed what's happening in the city center, which is all we have data on. This is an important point. It's taken from our speed monitors. Now, what I did was originally I was including inbound and outbound on the north monitor, and then only inbound on the south monitor, because the south monitor only looks one way. But when I started thinking about it, we shouldn't be counting the outbound on the north monitor. It's double counting potentially. So I took that data out of there, and this is just the two inbounds. So we can see that looking at this graphically, you can see how many vehicles we've had. You can see their seasonality. Our highest month was July, which makes sense. That's when our July 4th celebration is, right? And then and the anomaly here is March, which is odd. And I don't know.
Spring break.
Okay, thank you. I was like, oh, why is there so much traffic in March? Okay, so, but the thing that I do want to point out is we have a fairly consistent level of speeding in the 25 mile an hour zone. It does reflect some seasonality, and you can see the green level, the green chart is those that are exceeding at least 10 miles per hour or more in our, more than 10 miles per hour in our city center. And I mean, it's interesting. Any speed above the posted speed limit is a violation. But I keep track of the ones that are speeding 10 miles in excess of 10 miles per hour, because that is the one that if we were to employ speed enforcement camera technology would be ticketed. That's authorized by the state legislation. Let's go to the next slide. So this just shows you a pie chart of what's happening. And so through September, we've had the number of vehicles have been 1.4 million. 423,000 have been doing, well, actually it's 460,000 have been speeding. And of those, 41,000 are the folks that have gone over 10 miles per hour. So we've had, in other words, 41,388 distinct motorists that have gone through our city center at least 11 miles per hour above the speed limit this year so far.
Do we have any way to compare what's natural? I mean, what happens in every city?
Well, that's
In terms
part
of
of what our
comparison,
work group is trying to answer. And we actually might be a little on the lower side, potentially. I'm not 100% on that. I mean, just judging on the one interview I did, where the guy was, the city manager of Newburgh said that they had 100 incidences of people speeding 20 miles per hour over their speed limit in the city center. And I wanted to say, I can't remember, it's in my report, and we'll go through that real quick. So I'll address that in a minute. The last slide is where I then projected some revenue based on speed camera enforcement. This is through September. Now, the presentation I'm giving to the city council only has it through August. But I was able to model it through September. And the other thing I've done is, well, I mean, this shows, just to let you know, there are scenarios that you can use based on how you set up your contract with the speed enforcement vendor. And this is under a scenario called a per paid fee. So the city is not required in this case to lay out any money for the equipment. The vendor himself, vendor supplies the equipment, and the only time the city gets hit is if the citation is paid. So citation goes out, it's paid. In other words, someone pays a ticket, and then the city gets a part of that, and then the vendor gets a part of it. Okay. And the other thing that the other weakness in this particular scenario is that we don't know how many of these people will slow down as a result of being told that there's photo enforcement in place. We had some estimates provided by the vendor that suggested that among locals, it'll drop to about 40% of the typical level because of the photo enforcement. And among transients and tourists, it'd be more like 60% of what we're experiencing now. So there would be a reduction, but it wouldn't go to zero simply because you have photo enforcement. And it's weird because you'd think, since we're showing them that we have radar enforcement in place, that it would go to zero. And also Google and Waze and all of these other, they say, they'll tell you when you're driving along, photo enforcement, there's radar in place, right? If you have your, and still it doesn't go to zero. So it's just odd. I don't get it. So I put 9 scenarios in here, and it shows where the vendor, if the vendor's paid $50, $75 or $83. Okay, at $83 a ticket, we break even. At $50 a ticket, the city makes some pretty good money. And if we can hold the vendor to $50. Now, the vendor I spoke to said he would charge between 50 and 75 probably is where he would come in with a mobile camera. But I think the city could conceivably negotiate a price of maybe 60 for photo enforcement. I don't show that break here, but I have added it to my new chart. So next month you'll see that.
Does this assume all of those that are speeding are paying the ticket?
Yes. And the first one, it shows the first set of numbers is 100% payment of tickets. The second set is 85%, and then the third set is 75%. Okay. Now, 75% is probably conservative. My thinking is we'll probably see somewhere around 80 to 85% of the tickets paid. But tickets will be paid. There will be some that get off because the image is not clear, right? There'll be some, and they'll contest it. There'll be some that get off because they are saying they're not the driver, right? So they get taken care of. There'll be others that say, I'll go to driver's education classes for 4 weeks, which I did once, and it was a terrible experience. I would pay the ticket in retrospect. But they would go to something like that. And in some cases, according to our vendor, the court will lower the fee. So they won't make them pay 100%. In which case, the city of Newburgh said, we wrote our contract. So if that happened, the vendor would take a proportionate hit. So in other words, they don't get to continue getting the full fee when the city, if only part of the ticket is honored. Okay, so that's basically it. You can see here the city's take, if 100%, and I want to say one other thing. This is only for speeding in the village center, right? The speeding in the two now 35 mph zones, in my opinion, the incidence of speeding is higher. Probably, possibly double is what I'm thinking. Now, and so the city, if the city had, for example, a mobile camera, they could police any one of the zones, right? They could police in the south, move it to the village center for a couple of days and move it to the north and just alternate. There's a lot of moving pieces is what I'm trying to say. And so it's hard to say, okay, this would be definitely what we get. But I did put a fudge factor in here of 10%, which basically covers what I would say unexpected costs, that might be incurred. I can't really think of any unexpected costs, but there might be. And I do want to say also that the only cost to the city to go forward with speed camera enforcement, besides the bidding and the contracting and all that stuff with the vendor, is there would have to be an engineering study paid for by the city that would give ODOT the justification to permit the speed enforcement to take place. And that Newburgh said they paid $12,000 for their study. They recommended, they have an engineer they would recommend. My thinking in our case would probably be somewhere around $20K. So that would be our upfront cost. That's the only upfront cost that I can conceivably think of, other than the negotiations and writing the bid and all that stuff that goes with contracting. So that's that in a nutshell is what I've discovered. And like I said, I'll update this to put the $60 in. But the one thing I want to say about this table is it shows that any price, we could pay up to $83 to the vendor per ticket and break even. That's an important thing to recognize. So regardless of the scenario. And the other thing I want to say is the city's take is not really what I'm after. What I'm after personally is to see the speeds lowered so that we have a safer pedestrian environment. And this is what the governor would like to see. The state legislature, when they passed the bill, wanted to see that pedestrian and crossings of highways are made safer by employing these cameras. Okay, so that's it on that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yes.
So I guess I was wondering about the cost to the vendor and to the county. If we send out the ticket, isn't that when we incur that cost to the vendor and the county, and not necessarily if they pay it, I guess that's what I was wondering. So like, this is kind of taken into account like the 75%. I'm just wondering if we wouldn't have to pay the vendor and the county for 100% of them, but only get paid for 75%.
No, we only pay the vendor when we get paid.
Okay, and the county is the same.
I think that, and this is it's kind of fuzzy how it works with the county and the state. And so this is, and it's beyond our work group, at least at this point. One of the things I've asked the city council to consider, which I'll present tomorrow, is to let us as a work group look to examine not only vendor and city, but also how the processing from the time the ticket is issued to the time it's paid, and who's responsible for what and how that's budgeted. But there will be a budget. But
But isn't it the vendor that's controls that?
well, the vendor's responsible for capturing the data and sending it to law enforcement for validation. But the court has to give its stamp of approval before the ticket can go out. So that's kind of how I see it working. And then the court receives the payment, and then the payment is split among the four entities. Because in our case, the county sheriff is going to be involved. So we'll have some go to the state, some go to the county, some go to the city, and some go to the vendor. And how that's split up is the big question. So,
There's an expense to the county, a healthy expense for administration then.
right, there'll be some expense,
It's just
yeah.
like issuing
But-
any ticket.
Yeah, just like they're all set up to do tickets anyway when they're police write tickets. So it would be the same kind of person, I think, that would be handling these two. Okay, so let me see, what else was on the agenda? Was there another thing that I had on the agenda?
I think you did them both.
Okay, so the only thing I need to talk about is the work group. And that's the slide called speed enforcement camera. Yeah, there we go. Good. Okay, so not to bore everybody, but I'm just gonna run through this really quickly, because I don't want to spend a lot of time. Slide 2 shows you the 3 sections of highway, and basically they're gonna remain relatively unchanged. The yellow section is the north 35 now. The orange section is the downtown 25, and then the green section is the south 35. Okay, next slide. So the data I'm using to present is going to be the 25-mile-an-hour zone, which is the orange zone. As you know, it's taken from the speed monitors. One is at 6th Street, right up here, and it faces north, and the other one is faces south, is on the curve. So the key thing here is just to understand that there were through July, 37,266 vehicles doing at least 36 miles per hour in this zone. And projected out to a yearly basis, that amounts to 55,000 people right out here racing through our city center. And one of the things so going on to slide 7. Are we on slide 7? Can you tell? Page 7, whatever.
Page 7, this is page
Let
7.
me see here. I'll go to mine here real quick. Yeah, so I just, basically 6 and 7 are, and 5, 6, and 7 just basically review what I just reviewed with you. But the data I reviewed with you was August through August. Okay, so the next question is, what is speed enforcement camera and what is a speed enforcement camera and how does it work? Speed cameras are automatic enforcement devices designed to monitor vehicle speeds on public roadways. They capture images of vehicles exceeding specified speed limits. In our case, 11 miles per hour or higher in our city, aiding law enforcement in penalizing speeding offenders without the need for police officers to be present. So I want to make sure that's underlined too. We don't need we will not need police officers next to the camera, around the camera, anywhere near the camera. One thing the city could consider if they decide to pursue this is possibly doing away with if the police officer, the law enforcement guy is here to monitor traffic, we wouldn't necessarily need him anymore. That would be a cost savings of what is it, 180,000? Is that what we pay?
90.
90,000, okay. So that's another possibility if we're gonna just focus in on speed. I'm not sure there's really much in the way of crime here, so I'm not sure what he would do after if I mean, you might know more about that, Bobby. I don't know.
Police presence is a lot different though.
It's
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, so on the next slide, let's see, slide 9. basically, the camera unit captures the image of the speeding vehicle and takes both still photos and or video of offending vehicles. So it's capturing the image of the driver and the license tag as it goes by. So there's a front-facing camera that captures the image of the driver and a back-facing camera that captures the rear of the vehicle. It calculates the speed of the approaching vehicle, so it uses radar to do that. The data processing unit that processes the images and information collected and then stores it for law enforcement agencies. Now, he tells me that he has actually real-time, the guy who we spoke to, Genoptic, told us that he has real-time capabilities where it can, as soon as the driver goes by speeding, takes the picture and sends it to law enforcement, right? So it's really instantaneous. It's not like a week or two later or whatever, or it doesn't require a police officer to write a report. Okay, so slide 10, should the city choose to pursue this, it's important that the city understand that ODOT does not maintain a fixed list of authorized vendors. ODOT has confirmed this with me via email. So there's not a fixed list, and the city is free to select a vendor of its choosing. There are two types of camera systems permitted in the state of Oregon: fixed cameras and mobile cameras. Both systems use two cameras, as I mentioned to you. The mobile camera can be placed in the shoulder of the road and it's housed inside a vehicle. So for example, a Toyota Sienna is parked on the side of the road, right? The state requires that a speed monitor be placed within 400 yards of the camera. It could be the mobile trailer that we bought, could be part of this, where basically you put it 400 feet ahead, it flashes at what the speed is. So it's giving a notice before the driver encounters the camera. He gets a warning. Guess what? You're speeding, slow down.
Gives them their speed. They may not be speeding at the time.
Right.
It just says this is what
Yeah.
what your speed is right at that time.
Right, and so 400 feet later,
Yeah.
they pass the camera, and if they're speeding in excess of 11 miles per hour, it's going to capture the image of the vehicle and the driver.
They may think they're through. Then
They're speeding up.
yeah, and they start speeding up.
One of the things I want to make sure, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to make sure that everybody understands that in Oregon, a traffic violation is considered a criminal offense. It is not a laughing matter. It's not something that the police or the state legislature think, or the governor thinks is a laughing matter. It is a criminal offense. So that's why the camera must take a clear photo of the driver to make sure that they have the person identified as to who was doing the speeding. Slide 11 shows a picture of what a mobile van would look like. Again, I would suggest a Prius, something really small and indistinct if we were going to do this, that would not be big and bulky like a big van like that. We could do it in a school bus, or we could do the officer-friendly thing. You know, I have a little black and white out there. And slide 12 shows what it looks like if it's on a pole. So these were taken from the city of Newburgh on State Highway 99W. These are pole cameras, which are set up to take. Two of them are set up to look at speeders, and one of them is tied to a red light. Because what happens is, according to them, people turning right don't stop. They just wheel around. So they wanted to make sure that they're stopping so the pedestrians don't get hit in the crosswalks. Okay, so slide 13 is information on how the process works. The camera captures an image, it's verified by the vendor and sent to law enforcement, in this case, the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, for further verification and court processing. And once approved, the vendor is authorized to print and mail a violation notice. So that the vendor would be mailing, in the case of Genoptech, they would be mailing the ticket. The court is notified on the progress of the ticket and payment is made to the court. Once the payment is made, the fine is split between the state, the county, the city, and the vendor. The state, next slide, please. The state permits ticketing of any vehicle exceeding 10 miles per hour over the posted speed limit. So these are not just people that are, oops, I'm going a little too fast. These are people, I don't know how to describe people that are doing 11 miles an hour in our city center, but I don't think I would describe them very nicely. Let's put it that way. The statute calls for a fine of $165. And if they're doing 21 to 30 miles per hour over the speed limit, $265 and would be the fine. Now, in our data, we have found, and I don't break, this is another simplification I've done. I've assumed everybody's getting 165, but there are some in our 25 mile per hour zone that are doing in excess of 20 miles per hour in our zone right here. And that would result in a ticket of $265. So that's quite a spank. The city must provide, now going forward in slide 15, there are some things that the city has to do prior to initiating speed camera enforcement. There's a 30-day warning period that must be, the city must give a 30-day notice that this is going to go into place. There's signage required, speed radar enforced, which I would suggest would go into very city limits on each side, a sign that shows the speed radar enforced. Public notices that Genoptech, as the vendor, said they would help the city develop to inform residents of the program. And those could go on the website, and the news media, and other places, to notify that the program is going to go into place. The city, slide 16, the city must also provide a report on the program every 2 years. The vendor can compile most of the necessary data for this report, and it's not complex. I've looked at samples, but the city has to submit it. So there would be some, Neil, maybe that would be something you'd be doing, I don't know. That would be done. And most of these reports are basically boilerplate. So there's not a lot of, wow, what do they want here, and so on and so forth. It's pretty straightforward. As stated previously, there are two types of cameras, fixed and mobile. Now, my understanding, there was a rumor going around that the speed, this is slide, hang on a second, slide 18. Yeah, there was a rumor going on around that the equipment cost $500,000. A fixed camera system runs $150,000, and a mobile camera system is less expensive. The vendor we spoke to said that if the city were wanting to buy the equipment, it would be $85,000 to $100,000 for one vehicle armed with the cameras. But we don't have to buy the equipment, right? We can do what's called a per paid fee, which I've highlighted in red below. The city, in this case, the city incurs costs only when fines are paid. And importantly, we do not pay for the equipment as a startup cost. So the vendor undertakes an investment. He makes the camera system and the vehicle, and then puts it on the street, and it's his incentive to make sure that tickets are done and processed properly, et cetera. And and then we only pay him when we get paid, when the city gets paid, then a payment goes to the vendor. And then the last thing here on this slide is that Genoptech said that we can expect to see a 50 to 60% reduction in speeding by locals during the first 7 months of the program. That was his estimate. And he said for tourists and transients, you'll see a 25 to 30% reduction. So again, it's not going to make it 100% compliance, which is a shame. I mean, that's what I'd like to see is 100% compliance, but it's not going to do it. So, okay, so I've already explained, we've gone over this particular thing. This is something I put together for the council, and it's based on the data through July. Let's go on. ODOT requirements, pretty straightforward. We have to do the safety and operations report to put speed enforcement camera on the highway. And this report, as I mentioned, has a cost of probably somewhere around 20,000. That's your only expense in terms of going forward. And ODOT, according to Newburgh, the city manager there, Will Worthy, he said that ODOT is really helpful. They'll tell you exactly what you need to do to satisfy them. And they're totally fine with us having a camera on our highway. There's not any objection from them. Also, if we went with the mobile unit, ODOT does not require a permit, as the vehicle will park in the shoulder of the road and not a permanent fixture. It will move around. So we don't have to get a permit for the road right of way. Okay, slide 23. This is my discussion with city manager Will Worthy. Will said that the city of Newburgh had high incidences of speeding and late braking on the two state highways that run through the center of town, which are 99W and 210. The city started collecting metrics and discovered that 100 motorists a day were exceeding 20 miles per hour above the posted speed limits in their city. So that's a lot. He said the busy highways were interfering with pedestrians trying to cross safely, especially families with children. The city's police also complained that there were no safe areas for law enforcement to pull speeders over. Now, when I drive this 101 highway through Yachats, especially on the south side of town, it doesn't look like there's any place to pull someone over at all. So you can see why they were hesitant, to be really aggressive with speeders because of that. The police also said that as far as they were concerned, and Newburgh has its own police force, when speeders sped by more than 10 miles per hour, they called this a good ticket, because that meant that they were purposely violating the speed limit, and it was something that they felt should be ticketed. And they said, and it was interesting, Jim, you might want to tell the commission about your experience, your discussion with our police officer.
Yeah, it was on the volunteer day, city appreciation day. Our local deputy sheriff was out in the south part of town for the morning, because I'd driven by him several times. And I happened to run into him after that, and I asked him how many tickets and what he encountered. And the first thing he said was, I don't write any tickets unless they're above 15 miles per hour above the posted speed limit. That just tells you how much speeding is going on. And so in that couple-hour period, however, he had 3 tickets, and 2 people were going 60 miles in the 40 mile. So they were going 20 miles over the posted speed limit. And one person had passed on a double yellow line.
Makes sense.
And you can imagine how much traffic. This is in August, where a typical day, there's probably 30,000 vehicles going through the town. Not quite that, might be 15,000, but it's a big number of.
Yeah, and Newburgh, the thing that I thought was really good about Newburgh was the city manager there said that any revenue made by the city was a byproduct. Although he thought they didn't do any financial modeling. They didn't project any kind of revenue stream to the city at all when they decided to go forward. They said, but he said he believed 10,000 a month was possible. He said the goal of the city was not revenue, but pedestrian safety. So I think that's an important thing to remember, is that if we go forward with this, it's really about making it safer for us to cross the highway. And that's been my whole driving impetus, you know, from the get-go, is to make it so that we can cross that highway safely. Okay, slide 25. If the city went with a the Newburgh city went with a per paid fee and limited their vendor to $50 per ticket. At $50 per ticket, the city would make some nice revenue if we could do that. Now,
That's for a
you know,
fixed.
that was for fixed, right? To me, if the mobile camera is cheaper than the fixed camera, then it seems to me we could drive a pretty hard bargain and get a decent price for our per paid ticket fee. Again, I mentioned the proportionality, that if the ticket was reduced by the courts, the fee paid to the vendor would be reduced proportionately. Okay, slide 26. The city consulted with other cities. They didn't pay a high-priced consultant to do whatever it was they did to determine, you know, what they wanted to do on speed enforcement. Instead, the city manager himself said he spoke with city officials in Sherwood and Beaverton, and that they had used speed enforcement technology for many years and was content that these guys were telling him enough information that it was something they wanted to do. The Newburgh City Council voted 6-1 in favor of implementing the speed enforcement camera technology. And while social media among the citizenry, you know, like Yahat's friends, was split, he said about 50-50, business owners and other notable citizens were 85% in favor. So they went ahead and put it in. Slide 28, please. Okay, so do speed cameras work? Numerous studies have highlighted the positive effects of speed cameras on road safety. And I encourage, I tell in my statement to the council, I'm going to say, please go out and take a look yourself if you're skeptical of this. But I do cite three studies here. New York City's automated speed cameras reduced traffic crashes by 14% and decreased speeding violations by 75% over time. Researchers in Philadelphia found that after the city installed speed cameras on Roosevelt Boulevard, speeding infractions there dropped by more than 90%. And San Francisco recently rolled out speed cameras, that was this year. In the 15 locations where the city installed cameras, the data showed that speeding had decreased 72% on average at these locations. Again, not 100% compliance, but definitely an improvement. Research indicates that the data from jurisdictions that have implemented speed cameras shows a consistent decline in average speeds on monitored roads. When drivers know they are being watched, they are more likely to adhere to speed limits. Research also indicates that the presence of speed cameras correlates with a notable reduction in traffic accidents, especially in high-speed zones. One study found a decrease of up to 30% in fatalities and serious injuries in areas with speed camera enforcement compared to those without. The knowledge that speed cameras can be deployed at any time leads to a more conscientious approach to driving among the general public. As driving habits change, a gradual formation of a safer driving culture may emerge, which can transcend beyond the immediate areas where speed cameras are placed. So what they're saying here is that if the culture can change, the idea that there's going to be speed enforcement cameras would reflect that people would begin lowering their speeds across the board in other areas than just those that are where they're facing monitors. Slide 30, please. Okay, so this is the conclusions and recommendations I'm planning to make to the council. The council should permit our work group to continue to research speed enforcement technology in Oregon cities and the vendors who provide the equipment. Our our work group would like to speak with officials and vendors who provide equipment to cities like Sherwood, Beaverton, and Medford. In addition, Bend is also in the process of introducing this technology. Bend is considered one of the great tourist sites in our state, right? In fact, it was voted number one, one of the top 10 cities to visit. I can't remember what it was on CNN. I was reading about it and I was very, very impressed by that. But they're going to introduce speed camera technology. Of key interest is how they're implementing the process and what types of vendor contracts and pricing they are putting in place. So we can give more than just having one guy tell us what the price is. We can evaluate 3 or 4 and get a good snapshot of what's going on. The council should understand that speed cameras work to slow speeds. This is proven in multiple studies, and I encourage the council to do their own research on this point. The council should understand that speeding is occurring on 101 highway at a rate that endangers pedestrians and bicyclists crossing or walking or riding along the highway. In the village center alone, 55,000 inbound vehicles will exceed the speed limit by more than 10 miles per hour this year. I believe it's reasonable to assume that an even greater number of vehicles are speeding in the 235 mile per hour zones and 40. But the city has no data on these 2 major second highway. So we don't know. We have absolutely no idea what's going on in 40 miles per hour. A mobile speed camera can be parked in the shoulder of the road and does not require a permit from ODOT, as it is not a permanent fixture. It would allow the city to police the north, south, and city centers sections of 101 highway on a 24/7 basis without requiring the presence of a law enforcement officer. But it wouldn't just be 20 hours a week. It would be 24/7, 100 and whatever it is. I think it's 165 hours or whatever it is in a week. Yachats could pay the vendor up to $80 a ticket and still break even on the process, but Newburgh suggests that vendors will work for $50 a ticket. So that's a good point to make there. Next slide. Earlier this year, I met with Sheriff Shanks and we discussed the process, and he is open to work. Sheriff Shanks is the Lincoln County Sheriff, right? I went to his office and met with him for an hour. He's open to working with the city to arrange for ticket processing. The fuzziest part of this process is issuing tickets. And this is what Neil was asking about. I agree. Although our work group is not tasked with learning how the city could use Lincoln County courts and the sheriff to enable speed camera enforcement, we'd be happy to add that to our plate. Based on the per paid pricing model, if the city ticketed all persons in the village center during the first 8 months of 2025, the likely take for the city would be somewhere between $209,000 and $1 million. That's for 8 months in the city center. These numbers are conservative, as a 10% fudge factor to cover unknown or unexpected costs was deducted before the city's take was calculated. But it doesn't account for what will happen when the speed enforcement cameras go in place and we see a reduction in speed, right? So if we do and see somewhere around 40% compliance, then those numbers will be reduced accordingly. ODOT has permitted speed enforcement camera on 4 state highways in Portland and 1 state highway in Newburgh. So Yachats would not be the first. ODOT does not have an approved list of vendors. The city would be free to choose from any vendor willing to work with it. Also, a mobile camera system costs $85,000 to $100,000. The city was under the impression that these systems cost $500,000. This is not correct. However, with the fixed fee paid model, the city does not have to buy the equipment. This is the greatest part about it. And this is why the vendors came up with this model. It only pays the vendor when citations are paid. So that's the presentation I'll make tomorrow. If there's any questions by anybody, let me know now. Or forever hold your peace.
How many minutes do you have for your presentation?
I don't know.
Oh.
Less than that.
Well, I've been keeping track, so
How many minutes was it?
Oh, I've only done the last half and it was 16 minutes.
Oh, got in.
Wondering about the spreadsheet.
I have a question.
Bob?
Can anybody hear me? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious, who does the lookup information, from DMV? Is it the vendor or is it placed on the the sheriff's office?
I don't know because this is the fuzzy part of the whole process. How the city will work with the state and the sheriff. And that's something where either we can sit down, the work group can sit down with the sheriff and the county officials and figure that out. Or the city could say, well, we'll take care of that. We'll figure out how this is all supposed to be administered. But until we determine whether or not there's an interest on the city's part to go forward in this area, I think maybe it's premature. I don't know. We'll just have to see. But I would like to at least understand the process. And I think it's something we should try to do.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Neil?
I was just wondering if, when you talked to the county, did they weigh in on that $66 number? If it's in the ballpark?
They did not weigh in. Now, the $66 number came from the city of Albany. The city of Albany in their in a news report I read estimated that this is what the county and the state would take. And then the rest would come to the city. And the vendor, I should say.
I have a question for Kevin. Because we've discussed this before, you know, and you've been sort of, I would say, slightly skeptical about the ability to generate these types of numbers, if I'm not correct.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear your, now, you know, has your opinion changed a little now that you've heard the?
Well, I mean, the millions of dollars before that we were estimating.
Right.
I'm glad that we're more realistic in our numbers now, right? And I think people will over time, I'll adjust my speed. I know that much.
Don't speed.
I do speed.
Really?
Yes, yes.
I consider, wherever I live, I consider it sacred ground and I do not violate it.
And I definitely would stop.
So when you were busted out of town, right?
Yeah. Busted in Canada, busted in Arizona,
I
busted
would,
in Virginia.
I would like to see a breakdown of the real expense. I mean, I keep seeing, I mean, you've got the vehicle and the equipment, but that's not all of it. You've got people involved, so there's expense.
Yeah, who moves?
Because you have to account for, yeah,
Moves the
somebody's
vehicle.
moving the vehicle, so we've got to pay for that individual's time.
Right, but I think that's the vendor. The vendor takes care of all of that. They maintain the equipment, they move the equipment, blah, 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 blah.
And that's what I would really like to see,
And
a
that comes out of
list so
their
that you
fee
know
pay.
what is covered and what isn't.
Right, right,
I think
okay.
that's
So
important.
that's something in the next vendor we'll talk to if we get the approval from the council to go forward with our work group. The next vendor we'll talk to, I'll ask that specific question.
And
That's a
then
good
no-
question.
Sure.
Lens
You said-
when it gets all salty.
Back to some of our earlier discussion, if it does slow the speeds.
Yes, and I think
and
it
you
will.
don't have any, you know, that it's pay as you go. It's a huge win.
I just wonder if we just lied and said we have radar enforced ticketing, but
That's
really don't have it.
that actually.
And it'll slow down the traffic and we don't have to pay it.
Well, no, the Supreme Court ruled, I want to say it was a decade or more ago, that police officers can lie to you. Well, if you're being interrogated for a crime or whatever, they can tell you a lie and say, look, Joe next door told me you did this or that. And you might feel intimidated enough to confess or whatever. I think it's possible. I don't know. The city could look into that to see if we posted radar, speed radar enforced at the two entrances of the city, if that's legal. I think you make a good point.
And
Something-
it would get, that would solve visitors, but I mean, me, I would know, oh, that they're just lying. I can still speed, right?
That's true. We need to let the sheriff know.
If we did do speed radar, the first month, you can speed as much as you want.
30
And we will
days.
send you a courtesy ticket.
Oh,
I'm
okay,
serious. That's how it would work. So
okay,
you could get it all out of your system in the first month.
okay.
We'll let you be the tester of the. So you'll speed through the city, and every time you speed through, we'll just say, he was just testing the system.
But you can't put a mask on.
So Don, I've read through your presentation a couple times now, and there's something that keeps popping out, and I'll ask it tomorrow too.
Okay.
But there's a comment in there that it's hard for it to ticket during the day because of the glare. What would that realistically do for the reduction of numbers of tickets that were possible to give out?
Well, that's why I put in the numbers, 100%, 85%, 75%. What the vendor said is that we won't get 100% accuracy, right? So let's say, he said 15% probably will be dismissed in court or done away. So that's where I got that 85% number from, okay? But then I went ahead and took it down to 75% because there might be some other things that go on. So you can see how if we get 100% of the tickets paid, 85%, 75%, right? And that's how that adjusts, and that takes care of that issue if there's glare or some technical difficulty. Now, the one thing the vendor told me was that they will, we can structure the contract so as technology improves, the equipment will be modified to take advantage of this technology. So the good thing is I'm sure they're working on how to reduce glare. So they are finding cameras that can work to shoot through glare or what have you. So I'm sure all that's underway. And the good news is that eventually they should be able to overcome those problems with time.
And let's say that we just get a modest amount of cash, $250,000, modest for us.
I mean, I don't know, is that a lot of money for the city, $250,000?
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, that's at the sort of low end of these projections. And that could pay for some sidewalks. Or
yeah,
pay for whatever the council wants, you know, I mean, but it is revenue,
crosswalks.
crosswalks, sidewalks.
That's ODOT.
Okay,
4
so that's
o'clock.
mine.
Thank you, Don.
Yeah,
It's 4 o'clock.
done a lot of
Any-
work. That's.
Anything else today?
See you later.
Thank you. I will see everybody November 14th, next month.
And let's not.
Thank you.
And next
Thank you.
month, if anybody wants to do the Christmas thing, I mentioned, you know, I think it'd be fun if we could organize a Christmas dinner for everybody and we all go out to a restaurant and celebrate.
Yeah,
But we could do takeout at somebody's house too.
is the meeting laws, will the meeting laws allow us to have Christmas dinner?
Well, I mean, it'd be
We
done.
don't talk about.
Yeah, you can't talk about anything.
Can't talk about business at all.
Okay.
City.
What are we
at all.
gonna talk about?
Yeah, what else is there to talk about?
Hey, that's.
Okay,
Boardwalk.
bye.
Under the